Hey, everybody, this is Nicole, and you're listening to the Tip That Scale podcast, where we're talking about layoffs, jobs, the world of work, recruiting, and so much more. In this episode of Tip That Scale, you will hear the words rest, reset, and balance. You'll also hear us say, take a break, quite a bit. Now, look, it's not the Hamilton, the musical version of Take a Break. It's the Tip That Scale one.
For people who have never been in the space of being laid off, this is new, especially the ones who are now sitting in it for 2 to 3 months. And like I said, seeing all the other people, new people entering it, it's got to be getting, well, it'll be scary for the new ones entering. The ones who've been in it for a minute, at least had a little bit of mental adjustment at this point to see that, okay, the world doesn't end if I'm not employed for a little bit. Hopefully I've found other things I can do, other means and methods. So yeah, I think sometimes taking that break from that process just does help you be able to see the forest for the trees.
AJ, you shared early that you would give yourself like 2 hours. And I've seen a lot of people do that. They would set aside 2 hours a day just to search or however much time that they need. And then it's interesting, though, that you can get so invested in it. You need a mental break because you're not just looking for a job. You're not just looking at companies and research and finding out what connections you have. But my goodness, in the midst of it, you end up seeing articles or comments about other people. It's not always a break from the job search. It really is the break from the news and the comments and seeing how people can be so overwhelmed by what's happening. One of the best things to do is take a beat and take a step back. It's necessary.
People literally go crazy.
I've heard of people sitting at their desk for like 8 to 10 hours a day, literally treating this like a job, which you can. But the problem with that is like you said, you're going to see a lot of negativity. You got to take care of yourself.
It's about taking care of yourself. Ron, what about you?
Yeah, I think when you're in it, I've been in on the sales side for a long time. You really have to push yourself to really get through and survive.
How do you take a break? You are in the grind. So much is dependent on you. How do a lot of people in sales take a break?
Honestly, they don't. I mean, I remember going on vacations and you'd get calls and you'd have to jump in. Even if you're going out on vacation, you have to be there to not only support your clients, but also support the team that's supporting you. And so you're on all the time.
In sales, it's FOMO. You are so afraid that you're going to miss something that you built up to, you put into, that you've taken weeks, months, years to develop, and it finally starts to come through, or it needs something to keep pushing it down the track that you just can't. It is an addiction, and you have to fool yourself into believing that it can't happen without you, and that you completely love that. There's a difference in being in a vacation spot and being on vacation, right? And you just can't, you won't turn it off. You feel like it's expected of you, and you've put in so much up to that point that you just don't want to let it go. So it is a mental mindset. In sales, that's the thing, that there's so much of your time that you spend that doesn't show anything, right? There's no number going up outside of maybe visits or what have you. But in terms of revenue production, there's so much time that goes into it to build up to that. And if you don't push that thing across the finish line, everything that was behind you that people may wonder, are they doing anything? They can't see that. But once the number comes through, you can. So you're afraid to at all possibly let that fall apart. It's just like training for a marathon or what have you. You have to put yourself in the mindset that I love this pain or whatever goes along with it for the end result.
When we're talking about work and when we're talking about a break, what I'm thinking about is we're pushing ourselves so much. And this is across the board. I think this is a lot of people. There's so many occupations that push themselves so hard for the job. And then it's not about being recognized. It really is about balance. And we need that balance. It's very different when we think about and recognize how occupations and how work and companies focus so much on us working, but not enough of the balance in taking a break. as things start to level, companies and leaders would see and encourage and mandate people take more time for themselves in the process, because in the meantime, they're going to do a better job for you if they have that time to reset and recharge.
We've been conditioned so much that it's time versus results, right?
It's changed from a relational model to a transactional model.
Quick shift back to vacations. I remember a time where I would ask for vacation. Hey, would it be okay if I take November 1st through the 15th off? I'm asking for my time that is part of my benefits. People don't ask for vacation now. Some people, I'll say it like this. So I give them credit. They know what's necessary for them to say, I'm taking off November 11th through the 17th. I'm not asking for the time frame of my vacation. I'm just telling you, this is the time that I'm going to take off. And not even saying, is there a problem with that? Because why should there be a problem?
It's the fear, right? You don't want to be looked at as the person that's constantly gone. You don't want to be looked at as like, I'm not doing my part.
Especially when you know times are doing what they're doing now, right? You try to avoid as many radars as you can. So.
But I also think when you're talking about the fear, I've said this before, especially early in my career. I was so afraid of taking vacation because I felt like if I was gone, then they would realize that they don't need me there. Well, guess what? They didn't need me there because ultimately I was laid off anyway. You have to balance and make sure that you're understanding your own motivation, but also look at that fear. What is it that you're especially afraid of and why? Talk to somebody about it, because if we put an acronym behind fear, fear is a false evidence appearing real. And it's false. We're going to fear that we're going to lose our jobs, but right now it happens anyway. So take.
And then you're pissed off that you didn't take that time. And you're pissed off you didn't take that vacay time.
Right. I can go back in my career where I missed major trips with my family because I felt like I had to be at work. What I wasn't looking at was the value of what I brought to the job. This is probably why so many people now are saying, no, I'm taking my time off, because they know the value that they bring to the organization and to their roles. Know your value. It took me years to understand that. When you understand your value, you understand how valuable you are to an organization. You don't necessarily have to fear if they're going to let you go, because if you've been let go before, you know you can find something else again, and you just come to it from a different perspective and a different position.
Well, I mean, and there has been an evolution, right? I remember earlier in my career hearing people who had been working for much longer, and it was a badge of honor that they would like a badge of honor to wear that. Oh, I had 20 days of vacation that I just didn't take this year.
Yeah.
You know, and that was something to beat your chest on. But even with companies, they've evolved from that, because years too, they would pay you for those days you didn't take, right? You would get an extra check. So there was an incentive for people not to take those, and reward for that badge of honor. And obviously that in most places has stopped, which you would hope is because companies want to incent people to start taking that. They realize that time off makes you better. Everybody needs that decompression. But yeah, I do remember when that was a big thing, not to take those days. Then you'd get paid for them.
Yeah.
And then that disappeared.
Think about where that started from, though. Like, it started from your school days. Like, you started getting stars and all these other things for not missing a single day or anything like that. Even if you're sick, you're still coming to class. I mean, in hindsight, now we know that's bad. But that's the type of stuff we grew up with, right?
Oh, that's a really good observation. You got a star. You didn't get anything else, though.
A star was enough.
And now we aren't accepting the stars anymore.
Could you imagine somebody giving you a star for not taking vacation?
How about this? Getting an extra day off because you didn't take a vacation. What?
You're not going to use this anyways, but here you go.
Right. Here's another day. Take that one.
I gave up 6 for 1.
Yeah, I don't even understand why companies are still offering just 2 weeks vacation out of 52 weeks in a year. So basically, you're working 50 weeks of the year.
Mhm.
That's wild to me. First of all, companies change that policy. If you're still offering people 2 weeks, I would even say 15 days. Y'all need to change that up. Give people some more time.
Unfortunately, and we've seen this more than once, when we have these downturns and excessive
Yeah.
layoffs, that's an opportunity to do clawbacks on
Yeah.
all these things that companies had to throw in to get people to come when there was a shortage. Now they can take them away, and it will, and it's a cycle that it goes to. You have to all wait around for it to come back to build it back up. So I think you're going to see a lot of that disappear because they can.
There are a lot of people who have never gone through a layoff.
Mhm.
We're talking about taking a break. It may seem very odd to them that we're taking a break, but we don't have a 9 to 5 position. There's so much that you can do that you would still need to take a break from. What have you been doing, AJ?
A little bit of everything. I've been trying to like meet more friends, trying to get out of the house more. I went on a little trip not too long ago. I helped out with my extended family's business. I mean, it's just a whole slew of different things, right? You got to keep your mind occupied, but also you got to make sure that you're giving yourself a break just to kind of sit back and relax and assess what's happening around you.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're going to go through a whole slew of emotions. I know I did.
Yeah.
You got to chill. That's the easiest thing I can tell you. You're going to find another job. When you go back into it, you're
Mhm.
refreshed. Take the time to relax and look at it as a really a time for you to just reset.
What about you, Ron?
And so I've always got projects going on, being projects, home projects, outside projects, all kinds of different stuff. But in this downtime from the downtime, I have spent more time just trying to figure out, okay, how do I monetize those things, the things I do, I enjoy, the other skills I've developed. How do I monetize that versus what I consider my day job, from what I've been doing for the last forever. So having more conversations with people outside of that space that falls more into the other spaces that I'm talking about, trying to just get more ideas and then reinvent myself. What else can I be besides what I've been?
Mm-hmm.
So I've spent way more time in that space versus because I mean you can look out, you can look and see there's still a lot more layoffs that hit. So it only adds more people
Yeah.
out there doing the same thing. So it goes back to our other podcast about pivoting. That's where I've spent more time thinking about doing, having conversations around, really trying to figure out how do you take that as a career, whether it be an intermediate career or long term. So, and I did a lot more projects. I got outside more. I did more stuff with family. Just different. Just get out from in front of the computer.
I've been journaling again, clearing your mind and finding a breath and a breather. Please try it. Just write, and I do write pen and paper. Just write down your thoughts. It's comforting, but it's also a good release from some of the things that you may be holding on to that you don't even know you're holding on to. Just showing up where you need to show up for yourself. AJ, I like that you're seeing friends because sometimes when we're 9 to 5, we don't have time. Or when we're done, we're too tired.
I had a great dinner with a couple of friends last night. Made some ceviche, had some fish tacos. It was so good. And it was just see, and the thing is all of us are in the same field,
Mm,
right? And sometimes it's good just to talk about what you're feeling with people that are going through the same things.
yeah.
Because like if you just sit back and you just get into your mind and you start thinking about all the bad that's going on, yeah, you're gonna be extremely down. But like again, we're a very social group of people. Meet other people. Even if you feel extremely uncomfortable doing that, you're gonna realize that you're gonna be a lot happier.
Well, and I think when you go through something like this, your world shrinks without you
Yep.
even noticing it, right? You just get in the mode of what we've been talking about, sitting there just looking for a job. And as you do that, those connections, those conversations, those friends, all those things get smaller because you just get not necessarily obsessed, but just super overly focused on that piece. And if you can expand that world by doing the things you were talking about, talking to other people, a lot of times that's where that next idea or opportunity pops up by expanding your world and increasing your reach. So yeah, by nature, we do the opposite of what we should be doing,
So true.
shrinking our world instead of growing it.
Yeah, we know isolation is really detrimental to mental health. It's a real pain because you aren't connecting to people who can help you.
Yeah, absolutely.
There was a year that I call it the year that I couldn't find anything. Don't take this as the truth for you. Just know that this was in my past. I couldn't find anything for a year. Granted, it came that I needed to relocate, and I did. But during that
Mm.
time, I isolated for so long. I never told anybody what was going on. A few people knew. But then when I asked, anybody have any opportunities out there? All of a sudden, boom, immediately the wheel started turning. It was very different than just posting it on LinkedIn. I didn't do that. I posted it to my network on Facebook, and that's where it opened up. It was more casual versus professional. One of the major things I learned was don't sit up in the stew by yourself. Make sure that you are out and about, and as like a lot of people like to say, touching grass.
This is an economic reset. Think of this as more of a reset for you. Maybe you were doing something that was a hindrance more to you than it was anything else. Used to, people looked at for adventures as something fun and exciting. Right now, it's just fearful. You're gonna find out a couple of different things. Through this time, you're gonna find out who you really are if you give yourself the time to do that. You're gonna find out who's actually there for you when times are bad. There's a whole slew of different things that you're gonna come to a realization on that's gonna be for your own betterment. It's a personal reset.
Which can also turn into your economic reset if you can use this to come up with. I mean, that's why I keep, you talk about my downtime. That's what I've been more focusing on is, okay, it's probably not going to change right now and tomorrow and the next day, but what about after that? That's what I'm really planning, focusing and looking at. What can I set myself up with to be in a much better spot when it is more controllable? They always get better. I'm looking more at the tomorrow than right now and the day after.
I will echo what you both have said. More than anything, when we take a break, we are clearing our minds, and you never know what ideas, what opportunities will come to mind when we're taking a break. I tell people this all the time. The more you are on the go, you're hustling, you're moving. Most of the time, you're on autopilot. You don't have time to even think. You're just doing. And when you take a beat, take a break, I know for me, I start getting ideas, probably why I become busy during those break times. There's so many different opportunities. So we want to just encourage everyone to take care of yourself and take some time. Do what you need to do if you're looking and you're on the grind looking, but we also suggest that while you're on that grind, take that break. Don't miss some of the beauty that you will see around you. You can see some things more clearly, and you may get some clarity about your next. Maybe what you're looking for really isn't what you're jazzed about. Take a moment, take several moments. You may see that, yeah, that's not as appealing to me as it once was. It's time for me to look at something else. And what do we call that? That's the pivot.
Focus on the journey, not the destination.
If you weren't convinced before, hopefully you are now. Give yourself some time to decompress, rest, and reset. But before you do, make sure you like, follow, and subscribe to Tip That Scale wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. You know what? You should also follow us on Twitter and Instagram. We're working on something new. And okay, look, I can't say what it is just yet, but remember, we are all about helping you tip that scale in your favor.